I made a video about this the other day, and this is just the Colts situation. And I went on Twitter during the game last night and said, fire Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard has absolutely no business being the GM of the Indianapolis Colts right now. And honestly, I'm to the point now where I don't even think Shane Steichen's a good coach. Everybody gassed him up about how great he was, and he was the reason the Eagles are blah, blah, blah. I'm to the point now where I don't even think he's that good of a head coach. You go and bench Anthony Richardson, which everybody knew that he was going to be a reclamation project when entering the league. There was no secret about that in any way, shape, or form. Then we
spoke about that adamantly in their preseason preview that we did.
Then you go after 10 games and bench him for Joe Flacco, who's a 39-year-old man. Then you go out on primetime against the Minnesota Vikings and don't score an offensive touchdown.
This game got flexed to Sunday night, by the way.
Are you going to look at me in the face right now and say that Anthony Richardson couldn't have gone out and ran that offense and put up 13 points?
I would not say that to you, because I think Anthony Richardson could have gone out and done the same or better than Joe Flacco did last night. Joe Flacco looked like a 39-year-old man last night. And I get it. The Vikings have a good defense, but Joe Flacco looked 47 years old last night. It was not the same Joe Flacco that we've seen come in and throw the football all over the field. They bottled him up. They couldn't run the football. At least with Anthony Richardson out there, you stand a shot of, hey, maybe we can hit a 70-yard touchdown pass at some point in this game. Oh, and they run the football better with Anthony Richardson back there, because you have to worry about a 6'4" athletic freak that can run the football alongside of Jonathan Taylor. Now, I don't think they would have won this game, but this 21-13.
Why not?
All I was going to say, hold on. I think it would have been a more competitive and you stand a better shot than this 21-13 game that we saw. I think that 21-13 was misleading.
They lost by 8, and they like, why couldn't they have won this game with Anthony Richardson? I just think that the Vikings, newsflash for everybody who watches football, the Vikings aren't that good. So moving forward for the rest of the season, everybody can think whatever they want about the Vikings when they started off hot. They should have just dropped 3 straight to the Colts if they didn't have a bunch of idiots running the organization. So I think that that was a massive miss by the Indianapolis Colts. The first thing that you have to do when you go ahead and make that decision of benching Anthony Richardson, Steichen, you better have a fucking masterclass drawn up and ready to go and put up 30 points with Joe Flacco if that was that big of a difference of why you had to bench Anthony Richardson. This is complete mismanagement of your roster. You've lost the locker room. You saw how the players reacted to the news of Anthony Richardson. It was negative. And then you go out and you don't score an offensive touchdown after making that decision. This has probably been the wildest mishandling of anybody this entire season. Anybody, at least like the Bryce Young situation. It was like, you know what? Like, he's not playing that well. Let's bench him. Andy Dalton comes in and they throw up fucking 30 points the first week that he's in town. So that's what I was expecting out of the Colts, to make this big of a decision halfway through the season, not even halfway through the season, of benching Anthony Richardson. And I think it's safe to say, as of right now, that was definitely the wrong move.
The Panthers situation is also so much different because the Panthers were just bad and weren't playing good football. Although it hasn't been pretty going into this game, the Colts were still 4-4. Like, they weren't completely out of it, unlike the Panthers were to go and make that decision to bench Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. I agree with you. I wouldn't have benched Anthony Richardson by any means. I've been dead set on him playing throughout this season, letting him grow as a quarterback, and really figuring out what you have. I think 10 games is absolutely absurd and way too early to pull out your number 4 overall pick quarterback and bench him. Now you have to sit there and face the media and face the locker room and say, hey, we fucked up. Probably shouldn't have pulled Anthony Richardson and given Joe Flacco the start in this game. We got caught up in the minimum or the very small sample size of success that Joe Flacco had, and we're playing on a game on a Sunday night that we got flexed into, that we had actually no business of being flexed into in the first place, and we didn't want to come out there and look like shit with Anthony Richardson as our quarterback, and then you go out there and you look like shit with Joe Flacco as your quarterback.
My first question to you is, am I reaching saying Shane Steichen's a bad coach? And the reason I say that is because you ripped him. I tried to defend him at the end of last season when the game was on the line, throwing in the third string running back who had no business being out on the field, and throw him a game-winning first down to send them to the playoffs. Bad decision. And now this year, I have not been impressed with his play calling in any way, shape, or form. Maybe not understanding who you have at quarterback would be like the first step. And then like this example of what we watched last night of Joe Flacco going out there and laying an egg. Like, at what point do we start putting some sort of blame on the head coach?
I mean, I think we're looking at Shane Steichen has hung out with Nick Sirianni for way too long. It just so happens that Nick Sirianni has better players on his team.
100%. 100%. So that's where I'm out on Steichen. I thought he had me fooled. I thought he was a dog. I thought he was a reason why the Eagles are playing so well, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. Remove yourself from the situation now. Like, he's lost me. He's lost me. He's lost the locker room. He's lost that organization, and that fan base should be fucking livid with what's been going on. It's so annoying that this is a stupid reason, but imagine being a fan who you get a 4th overall pick in Anthony Richardson, who he is not playing well. It's hard to sit here and like fully defend that part of things, but he's not playing awful. So you draft him 4th overall. Half the stadium is filled with number 5 Anthony Richardson jerseys. And then you go and look at the fans in the face and bench them. Roll out a 39-year-old Joe Flacco and don't score an offensive touchdown on Sunday Night Football against the Vikings. That entire organization should be embarrassed.
I would be furious if I was actually a Colts fan. I'm sure that you haven't felt great about the way that Anthony Richardson has been playing as a quarterback if you are a Colts fan. And maybe there was a bit of you that was like, hey, maybe what does Joe Flacco have? Like, he's looked okay. And then after you go out and watch this type of performance from him and from that offense, you realize that, hey, maybe we were all right having Anthony Richardson back there at quarterback. He's only played 10 games. The ceiling on him is out of this world if you can figure out development and building the offense to put him in the best opportunity for success. I think this kind of goes back on the Shane Steichen situation, where I know that it's been such a small sample size with Anthony Richardson, but I was expecting more development, and maybe that's a little bit on me for trying to expect more in a small sample size of games from Anthony Richardson. I didn't think he was going to come out and be this bad, but we still have seen those flashes of him look really impressive on some of these throws. But it certainly hasn't been to the point where I'm like, all right, pull the plug on him. You gotta move on to your 39-year-old quarterback.
Something that I said in the last video, and I want to get your reaction to this, is I said that the league will absolutely never quit Anthony Richardson. There is stuff that Anthony Richardson does on a football field that no one else in the entire NFL that could do. And I know that there's probably a bunch of teams, probably half the teams in the NFL, who would feel comfortable being like, I would love to take a shot on Anthony Richardson and bring him into our building. He seems like a great dude. He's got like great off the field stuff, like with like his kid, or he just got his girl pregnant. his like wife, whatever that is. Like, he's a very wholesome guy. He's been with his girl since like middle school or something like that. Wholesome guy. Showing up last year when he was in a sling, he was like going to fans' houses and like meeting kids. Like, the locker room seems to love him. Like, there's nothing that has like rubbed me the wrong way about Anthony Richardson for them to treat him this poorly. And it's random in my opinion. I think it's fucked up, honestly.
I think the Colts got out of what the expectation was for this season with this move to play Joe Flacco. I think that we perfectly outlined it with, this is a building season if you are the Colts. This is a season where you have to go out there and you have to let Anthony Richardson play through the growing pains and continue to get reps as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And yeah, okay, you're going to win some football games. You're going to lose some football games. He's going to look good. He's going to look bad. But if you can get it figured out with Anthony Richardson, you are going to be set for a while because of how much talent is there and how high the ceiling is. But the Colts started to have some success. They started to get impatient with the Anthony Richardson process, and now they look foolish. Because they have to go back to him and go, all right, AR, we're sorry that we had to bench you for this game, and then you had to sit there and watch 39-year-old Joe Flacco, who we both like and who is a good backup quarterback, go out there and put on a performance that was equal or lesser to what you would go out there and do. I just think it looks so stupid now.
It's the same situation where like everybody like is like they like love Jameis Winston. Like, oh, Jameis Winston's so good. Like, but and then you watch him play this week, he plays poorly, and then you're reminded like there is a reason why Jameis Winston hasn't been a starter in the NFL since 2019. So like there's reasonings why these guys are backups. Like it's not rocket science. But anyway, we're gonna do
white clouds blowing out when we max 4-5, not the size, but it can go